In the complex and often heartbreaking landscape of modern television, few characters have illustrated the painful entanglement of trauma and self-worth as vividly as Cassie Howard from the series Euphoria. Her story is not simply one of a teenager making bad choices, it is a profound and distressing case study in how deep-seated emotional wounds can become twisted into a desperate need for validation, where the line between being loved and merely being wanted becomes dangerously blurred. To understand Cassie is to look beyond the surface drama of her relationships and see a young woman navigating the world with a broken internal compass, one that consistently points her toward the affirmation of male desire as the only proof she has of her own value. This journey begins in the rubble of her family life, with an absent father whose departure left a cavernous hole marked not just by his absence but by the toxic legacy of his behavior. Cassie grew up witnessing a model of love that was unreliable, conditional, and based on superficial charm. When a primary caregiver abandons you, the foundational question that often arises is, what did I do to cause this? Am I not enough? This unspoken query festers, and for Cassie, the answer became something she would spend years trying to prove wrong, seeking external confirmation that she was, in fact, desirable and worthy of attention. The sexualization of Cassie's trauma is not an abrupt event but a slow, insidious process. From a young age, she learns that her appearance and her body garner reactions. In a world that consistently objectifies women, Cassie internalizes the message that her power and her primary source of connection lie in her ability to be appealing to the male gaze. Her trauma, the profound abandonment by her father, does not stay in the past as a simple memory. Instead, it actively morphs into a driving force that shapes her present behavior. The little girl who craved her father's stable love becomes the teenager who confuses any intense, passionate male attention with that love. For Cassie, the act of being wanted, intensely and physically, creates a fleeting but powerful illusion of being cherished. In those moments of sexual pursuit and possession, she feels seen, she feels important, and the aching emptiness within her is temporarily quieted. This is the cruel confusion at the heart of her story. She mistakes the heat of desire for the warmth of love, the grip of possession for the security of commitment, and the drama of passion for the steadiness of true care. We see this pattern play out repeatedly in her relationships, most catastrophically with Nate Jacobs. Here, Cassie's template for love, modeled on her charming but unfaithful father, meets its perfect and terrible match. Nate is volatile, controlling, and emotionally unavailable, yet he pursues her with an intensity that feels like the ultimate validation. To be wanted by someone so desired and feared at their high school is intoxicating. She reads his jealousy and possessiveness as a form of deep investment, interpreting his need to control her as a sign that he cares too much to let her go. In reality, Nate's want for Cassie is largely about power, image, and filling his own voids. He does not see the wounded, loving person she is, he sees an object that reflects well on him and soothes his own insecurities. But for Cassie, even this painful, secretive, and dysfunctional dynamic feels more real and more compelling than the quiet loneliness of being on her own. She endures humiliation, secrecy, and emotional abuse because the alternative, not being wanted by anyone, feels like reverting to that invisible, abandoned little girl. The trauma has rewired her nervous system, chaos feels familiar, and the adrenaline of a turbulent relationship mimics the feeling of being alive and significant. This confusion profoundly erodes her sense of identity. Cassie, in her quest to be the perfect object of desire, becomes a mirror for what each man she is with seems to want. With McKay, she tried to be the supportive, understanding girlfriend. With Nate, she morphs into the secret lover, the fantasy girl, agreeing to things that terrify her and betraying her closest friend. Maddie, in the process. There is no stable Cassie at the center because her core has been hollowed out by the belief that her inherent self is not enough. She must contort and perform to earn the love she so desperately craves, which is, in truth, just the feeling of being wanted. Her now iconic breakdown in front of the bathroom mirror, where she frantically tries on different personas, pleading, "I can be anything you want," is the perfect visual representation of this fracture. It is not the rant of a manipulative person, but the raw, desperate cry of someone whose entire self-concept is built upon being perceived as desirable. She is offering up her very soul for remodeling if it means she will be chosen and held on to. The fallout from this trauma cycle is devastating and ripples through every aspect of her life. It destroys her most important female friendship with Maddie, a relationship that offered genuine, non-transactional love and solidarity. In the economy of Cassie's wounded mind, however, male validation has been set as the highest currency. So she sacrifices the real, steady love of a friend for the volatile want of a boy. This trade-off highlights the tragic priority her trauma has forced upon her. Furthermore, her relationship with her sister, Lexi, becomes strained as Lexi, who processes their shared childhood trauma differently, watches in anguish and judgment, unable to understand why Cassie keeps hurting herself. Cassie's behavior also exposes her to physical danger and profound emotional harm, as she places herself in situations where her boundaries are non-existent and her worth is determined by someone else's fleeting interest. The sexualization of her trauma turns her body into a battlefield and a bargaining chip, leaving her vulnerable to exploitation and deepening the very wounds she is trying to soothe. Ultimately, Cassie Howard's story is a poignant and unflinching exploration of how the human heart, when injured early, can seek healing in places that only cause more injury. She is not a villain in her own story, she is a casualty of a perfect storm: parental abandonment, a culture that hypersexualizes young women, and the universal, aching need to belong. Her tragedy lies in her steadfast belief that if she can just be wanted enough, in the most physical and dramatic sense, she will finally feel the love that has always been missing. She conflates the spotlight of desire with the sanctuary of love, not realizing that one is a blinding, hot beam that leaves you in darkness when it moves on, while the other is a steady, gentle sun that allows you to grow. Euphoria presents Cassie with brutal honesty, refusing to offer easy answers or quick redemption. Her journey is a difficult mirror, reflecting a painful truth for many. That until we learn to separate love from want, and until we can find our worth from within rather than from the reflections in others' eyes, we remain trapped in the cycles of our past, forever confusing the drama of being desired with the quiet, sustaining peace of being truly loved.